Everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome back to yet another Endless Dream Realm boss guide, and we are on Crystal Beetle today. So for the free-to-play account right here, we leveled to level 681 to clear the boss, and as we progress through the day, we got to level 691 for some of our units right here. So we are getting our 700 really soon to get the level 25 artifact. But for this boss over here, there's only really one build to use against this boss, because this boss has a specific skill which enhances all the magical damage. So physical teams against this boss is just not going to compare against the magical team, because the boss buffs magical team over here. Okay, so for this boss over here, the unit of choice are as such, right? We use OD together with Lily May with Smokey at this position and Mikola on the front line. So the rationale for Smokey at that position is the position that is safe for Smokey to continuously cast the aroma while buffing as many units as possible. So that's the reason we put Smokey there. Because for Lily May's case, Lily May will start the battle by actually jumping with the ballet dance, and then she will walk up to the tile beside Smokey. So this way Lily May will also be buffed by Mikola's aura whenever the aura is active, and we are sending in OD right here together with resonating spell. So the thing about the artifacts for this boss would be, I think both resonating spell as well as arcane spell, they deliver similar amounts of damage, but I guess in terms of min-maxing, resonating could be a little bit better, because resonator buff actually provides an attack buff for the backmost unit, which is OD in this case, while also giving the invulnerability. So for this boss actually has quite a bit of I'll say like damage, as well as this stun over here. Right, so this stun over here was the reason why we used Coco to generate a shield, so that we do not get damaged by the boss in terms of losing HP, so we do not get stunned. However, in the endless state, I tried a few rounds with Coco. I guess the damage is just not enough, or the defenses of our team is not enough yet, which make it such that whenever the boss casts this Earthbound Trust over here, our units will still take damage beyond the shield value, which makes it such that they will get stunned no matter what. So therefore, we are not running Coco. So if you're slightly in the lower tier, you can obviously run Coco for you to actually get the shield up if you have Coco with the EX weapon, and then protect yourself from Crystal Beetle's damage. Okay, and running the double healer over here also allows us to actually heal really quickly in the event if the boss stuns us and then nuke us with the crystal projectile over here. So that's why we are running the double healer with Mikola as well as Coco over here. I mean Smokey over here. Okay, so let's start the battle and showcase the run itself. So for the Earthbound Trust, the boss will target the area with the most enemy, which is the center 3 tile. So that's why the center 3 lane will be targeted. But for Mikola's case, because Mikola can actually go into the invuln state as well as the invincibility frame, she's not as affected by this boss stun or control overall. For OD's case, OD will actually get stunned once in a while, but because he does have the resonator buff, whenever other units cast the ultimate, he will get this yellow color wing aura on top of it, which grants him some sort of invincibility or invulnerability, which makes him unaffected. So therefore you can see OD just outputting damage pretty consistently. So if you do see OD being stunned, it is probably because there's a split second of downtime, but I guess it's really unlikely, because the haste buff from the boss just ensures that everyone in the team is just consistently spamming their skills to ensure that the buff uptime on resonance spell is there. So this is the best free-to-play team with my free-to-play account right here. Okay, so this is the damage distribution. Now with regards to the free-to-play substitutes itself, I think specifically for this boss, there honestly isn't too much of a substitute. I guess you can obviously use Elsa for like just a bit of magical mix, but Elsa's damage is not that good, right, in comparison to OD as well as Lily May. For free-to-play players, I won't be including Talin, because Talin will be in another account later on to showcase on my main. So other than Elsa, I guess Torrent's also okay. As a debuffer, you can obviously put Torrent over here, right, link Torrent to Reina. then let Talin run in front to tank the normal attack of the boss. And Talin also has a debuff with the charm ability, so that's one way to sort of use this team as well. With regards to Shakir is also usable. Shakir pretty much serves the same purpose as Mikola, but I think Mikola as a buffer is just generally better. However, if you don't have Mikola but you got Shakir, you can also go for this build. By the way, for the main team itself, Freyasto turns out to be a really good damage dealer for this boss. Unfortunately, because for my account over here, as you guys can see, my Freyasto is a pretty low tier unit. I'm not going to feature Freyasto because I'm not going to beat the damage of my other stronger tier units. So in this case, if your Freyasto is slightly stronger, somewhere along the legendary to mythic tier, don't need mythic pass because Freyasto won't die, so he don't need the EX weapon to spawn another illusion. Then what you can do is you can try running Freyasto together with Mikola with Lily May, right? This will be showcased in another team later, so you guys can try that. So that's it for the free-to-play account. Okay, so now let's move on to my stronger main account. Okay, so we are on my main account right here, and for this boss, for the endless best score right here is this team. So my friend also tried the Talin build, but I think his score was only about 58 build. So I think I tried to modify his builds a bit, and then I find that this build that he runs right now, or the one that he shared right here, is probably the strongest because it's a lot more consistent in terms of damage output, and Freyasto over here turns out to be an amazing damage dealer. So I think depending on how invested your Freyasto is, the results might vary for yourself, but in the end game state, it seems like Freyasto is finally back, being the buffer for the team as well as the damage dealer on the magical side for the team itself. So let's run through the replay for this one first. So this is also my best team score over here. Okay, so Mikola Aura will benefit the frontliners, which are Lily May as well as Freyasto. And because Lily May is all the way at the right hand side, she will not be stunned by the boss, so she will be able to consistently output damage. Unfortunately, Lily May will not be buffed by Smokey on the left hand side, but I think it's fine because Smokey's aroma will still be able to benefit Freyasto, both the illusion as well as the main body, and also Mikola and Reina. So it's still quite a very good position to buff as many units as possible. I will probably try out another positioning later just to try and error, but this team for me was my highest damage team as well, so I'll say this team is relatively consistent. Okay, if you have the levels of the units as shown here as well as my level is around 781, so that's my cap is around 56 build. Okay, so right here, let's run through my own replay. So I did the exact same team. I also did the Talin team, and I'll talk about the Talin team's issue later. So you guys can see the different teams I tried. So 55.6 build over here. So this is the exact same formation. Okay, just going to run through the replay once again. So for this build over here, I think one way I could potentially think of improving is to position Lily May in a way where Lily May will be able to benefit from Smokey's aura. But at the same time, looking at Mikola's positioning, this is actually probably the most optimal position for Mikola to hit both the illusion as well as Lily May. Although there's a possibility for me to shift Mikola and Freyasto a little bit to the right side, but I don't think I can use Resonating Spell because if I shift Mikola and the Freyasto main body to the right side, the last unit will become Mikola. So Resonating Spell will buff Mikola instead of Lily May. So I will experiment with the Arcane spell later in terms of the positioning, but this is probably the best and the more consistent damage team. Okay, and there's also this Talin team. So the thing about Talin is that I think for Talin team itself, I guess the issue is keeping Talin's ultimate uptime, because for this team over here, because we remove Reina, right, we are losing the debuff on the boss, and then Freyasto will be doing a lot less damage, and then we have to rely on Talin to make up for the lost damage. But for my runs itself, I think Talin dies a lot, even though we do get like the haze buff as well as the energy regen buff, which allows us to cast the ultimate very fast after we revive, but there's still quite a bit of downtime on Talin, right? So if you're able to keep her alive consistently to output the ultimate over here, we should be able to hit close to the other team's damage, or maybe even better, because I saw Puzzle did the team with Talin, but I tried a few rounds with Talin with the exact same positioning as well as my own thoughts on the positioning itself. I just can't find the position for Talin to output the damage without dying. So I think this position over here allows Mikola to buff almost every unit on the battlefield, but it's still not enough to actually keep Talin's ultimate uptime. So therefore, me concluding Reina setup being the better and more consistent one. So yeah, I'm not going to try Talin in my next few runs. So that is the Talin variants that you guys can try. It's just a little hard because Talin gets stunned or Talin gets melted. So that's like, maybe because we're not level 800. Maybe if Talin reaches a higher level and then she doesn't die from that burst from the boss itself, then we might be able to perform better. So the other idea that I had to make sure that all the units benefit from both Smokey and Mikola aura is actually do this, but this way we can't use resonating spell because the resonator will fall on Mikola, which is what we don't want. So we have to actually switch out and use Arcane spell for the full magic team. So Arcane spell is also really good against this boss because yeah, this boss is magically weak. So having your units all being magical attacker, being able to fully benefit from this resonator spell damage as well as magic defense now is actually really helpful. So looking at this arrangement right here, Fresto actually benefits from Mikola's aura but not Smokey's aura. So we will see whether or not Lily May benefiting from both auras actually will give us more damage, because Lily May is the harder damage dealer. So we shall see. So let's see whether Arcane spell can make up for that resonator difference. So this one I'll say will probably be the way to go for this boss. At least I'll say Arcane spell and resonator spell, because the other artifacts are just not as fast or not as bursty compared to this. Okay, so 52, 53. Okay, 50 are pretty unfortunate, so it's not as good. So I guess the resonator burst is a little bit stronger. Okay, so just one more experimentation before we draw our conclusion for this. So Fresto has returned as the king of all the best damage dealer. Okay, we're gonna do this, and instead we're gonna put Smokey here so that Smokey aura will be able to hit Lily May. Okay, let's give it a go and see how we perform. So I didn't do any level tuning or adjustments, so we are purely trying to figure out whether or not having as many buff on Lily May is the way to go for maximum damage. Okay, so the ring is not extended yet, so I think Lily May is not covered by the buff. Okay, so now it's extended, so it's covering Lily May. Let's see whether or not Lily May will be able to deliver more damage in terms of this positioning. Yeah, by the way, Fresto is seemingly coming back for most of the bosses already. So I guess Fresto being the king is back once again, and then I'll probably prepare for the Celestial Hypogean guide, priority guide, really soon after like this whole cycle of the bosses actually complete, because I want to have a clearer picture of how efficient is Fresto against the different bosses. So we want to see whether or not Fresto excels at least 80% of the bosses, like how dominant he was previously. Okay, so right here, really close in terms of the damage. So I guess there's a little bit of RNG involved, but I think generally this build is probably the best and the more consistent build throughout the whole roster right now in terms of the best team against Crystal Beetle. So that's it for this video. Just a very simple sharing with regards to the different teams, the different meta teams, the free-to-play teams, as well as other variances that you guys can try to use. And I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.